Welcome. My name is Ted Fluehr, a Solutions Architect with InSource Solutions, and welcome to another Xperts on Tap session. Today we're going to talk about AVEVA Insight, and we're going to drill into the graphical capabilities we now have with AVEVA Insight. But let's talk a little bit before we get into the graphics, how we can get data to Insight and kind of do an overview of Insight. So, Insight's a great tool to be able to take data from all your different plant floor devices and publish it up to the Insight Cloud historian, if you will, and we can create dashboards and we can see that information on our smartphones. So no matter where you are, you can see that information at your fingertips. The way we get information up to Insight is, we have the ability to publish data directly from some of the AVEVA Wonderware products. If you have InTouch or you have InTouch Edge out there, there's built-in capabilities to publish that information up to AVEVA Insight. It's basically a checkbox on a tag that you want to publish up to Insight. If you have the AVEVA Wonderware historian there, it's also a checkbox. Says, I want to publish this information up to online Insight and be able to see that information up there. Let's say you don't have any AVEVA or Wonderware products here. We do have a standalone publisher. It's a piece of software we can download from the Insight web portal there, and then we can connect to over 300 drivers that we have to be able to connect to your PLCs directly. If you have a Allen Bradley Control Logics processor out there and no other AVEVA products, we can have the publisher and connect directly to that and have information published directly from that ABC IP driver up to Insight. We also support things like OPC, UA, and DA. So if you have some OPC servers out there for other applications, we can connect into those. MQTT, the whole Internet of Things, we can connect to those drivers and publish information up to AVEVA Insight. If you want to programmatically push data up to Insight, we do have a REST API where we can publish data up there, from your own code, or even read information back from Insight from your own code using OData. So that's kind of how we get data up there. We can publish it out through a single outbound port, so we can make a secure connection through port 443. The data is encrypted going up there. The data is encrypted at rest. So from a cyber security perspective, we have great ways we can get the data up there in a secure, safe manner. So the other thing we have at InSource is the ability to kind of give you a package solution, a turnkey project, where if you wanted us to come in and connect to a lot of different devices. And let's say you have some devices out there that don't have PLCs, well, we can provide a wireless I/O module that can wire up some sensors and get some information. For example, if you want to track downtime on your packaging lines that you don't have access to those PLCs, we can give you some I/O modules there and get that information and be able to push that information up to Insight. So a lot of different ways we can get data up there, even if you don't have already some drivers in place to be able to do that. But let's go take a look at Insight in action and show you some of the dashboarding tools that we have out there. So what I'm showing you here is just kind of one of our demo sites that we have. This is kind of a water application that we have, and this is our mountain site overview. But you can see, I have some different applications here. I can see trends of data. I can see data on a map. So if it's geographically distributed assets out there, you want to show the GIS location, we can do that. We can click on this and see trends. But if I click on this mountain site overview, I can kind of drill into the data and see more information about that. So this is what we call kind of a thumbnail view. I can go change the time horizon of this data. But if I want to go look at that in a line chart, I can do that also and see it in the trend and go change that time. And you can see if I move my cursor, you'll see that information over there. The other capability that we have here is to be able to see that information in a grid. So if I go look at this summary grid here, I can see some statistics about this information. So if I want to look at the average per hour for all these different tags, I can see that in a grid. And of course, I can export that out. I also can export the raw data out of my trends into a CSV file to be able to look at that data. So that's kind of one of our demo sites that we have. I'm going to bring up another one that I have, and we're going to kind of get into the graphical capabilities of Insight. So if I call up this other application that I have here, Now, this is kind of our Wonder Brew application, another example of some dashboards that we have. And these are all drillable. If I want to drill into this process curve information, I can see that in a trend chart. I can see there's alarms being overlaid here. I can go change my time horizon. I'm going to go look at that data for today. I can go look at that data in that status board view and see information about the roaster process displays here. There's some other dashboards we have here that show some process equipment here, and it's starting to show some of the graphical capabilities, right? And these graphics are basically bitmaps where we can layer some widgets on top of this. So if I go look at this bottling line down here, this bottling line is basically a bitmap, but I can add some other capabilities here, like the availability, performance, and quality from our OEE modules here. But let's look at some things like runtime and downtime. So I can embed this type of information into my process displays here and see that information. So let's go take a look at how we would build a graphic, how we would take some of that information and embed a graphic inside of Insight. So I'm going to clear my contents here. I got a couple pages that I started to build just to save time, but if I click here, I can look at this filter, and it's a blank page here. Right, but we have the ability to kind of go through here and see some information and be able to build some basically bitmaps of what we have here. So the ability to embed some bitmaps and then layer some widgets on top is what we're going to show in this next section here. So let's go do that inside that Insight application here. So if I look at this filter, the way I would go add a graphic, I would edit this filter. And then basically what you need to do is point that to your bitmap that you want as your background. So I'm going to click here, and it's going to point me to this filtered JPEG I have here, and it's going to drop that on the screen. So I can change the size of this a little bit. If I want to increase or decrease that size, I can do that to make it a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding some content here. So if I look here, these are the couple tags that I've chosen for this. So let's take this level here. And I'm going to take this level and I'm going to just drag it over here and put that level on top there. So it's going to give me a numeric value of that level. I'm going to do that again and put this on here. And I can go change the little widget that I have. So I'm going to go change that and say modify that. And I'm going to pick a bar chart and make that a little bit bigger. Then a color is a little tough to see with that black background. So I can go in here and I can go change the color of that. Let's go make that white. And I'll also change my text color to make that white. So now you can see there's that bar chart overlaid on top of that graphic. Let's go take a look at this temperature, and we can drop this temperature on top of my screen here. We're going to change that. We're going to go put that, make this one of these dials that we have here. And not crazy about the white on top of the gray, so we're going to change that to a kind of a bluish color here, so it matches the motif there. So you can see there's my temperature variable sitting there. And let's do one more. So if I go to this water flow variable, I'm going to stick this guy right up here, and we'll make that a little bit smaller to fit in this box. That blue on blue is not really going to work too well, so let's go modify that, and we'll change the color of that to white, and our text color looks like that's also white. So you can see I'm just layering these little wizards on top of existing bitmap, and it's starting to show me some live process data. So now if I save that, there's my display. I can go save this page here, and I'm going to say save that as a filter page. And if I clear my contents, I can go here. Now the filter shows up on my list, and I can call up that display, and I can see some live data on top of that information. So that's one way with a bitmap in the background. We do have another way of embedding some graphics inside of Insight. So if I go back to my PowerPoint here, one of the things that AVEVA is moving toward is a common graphic portfolio where we can develop our graphics, we call them industrial graphics, and use them across the entire portfolio, whether it's in System Platform or OMI or InTouch and Insight, Cloud Historian here. and Edge and even SciTech. So you develop that application or that graphic one time, and basically you're saving it to the cloud in AVEVA's Integration Studio, which is AVEVA's online development environment. And if you do have a development license, you do have access to that. So once you do that, then you can save that information up there. And then when you're inside these different applications, you can go pull down that graphic from that application. Right? So there's some examples of those applications. But let's go look and see how that's done. But if you look here in the IDE, this can be done from the IDE or this can be done from InTouch. You can see I took this tank vertical fill and I drug it down to my shared drive in my development studio there. Basically what you'll do is you'll log into that AVEVA Integration Studio and it'll give you this shared drive. So you take your graphic, you drive it down here, drop it down here, and then it becomes available when you get into Insight or you're doing other work in other applications. So let's go open up this other page that I started here. It's already got the tags picked, but let's go pick this Brew tank farm. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go edit this graphic that I started just to save time here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pick some graphics and drag them to the screen. So what I have the ability to do is go here to my toolbox and I drill it down into this Integration Studio shared drive here, and it's going to show me some of the content here. So give that a second. It's going to show me some of that content on the page here. It's taken a while for it to upgrade, but you're going to see that tank that I have here. It's up there on the cloud. So what I can do is I can take that and drag and drop that and put that onto my graphic. So now I can go change the custom properties, and the custom properties are the variables that I can go change, and I can go link to Insight tag. So I'm going to link that to my Brew kettle, and you can see it automatically has some live data. I also can go here and say, okay, I want to go take my Brew kettle. I'm going to drop this on top of here, and I'm going to change that to the value is going to be the tag name. So that's going to show me that's Brew kettle 100. So it's going to give me a label for that guy. Well, I can't move that. So we'll make that Brew kettle 100. So I'm going to go pick another one of these tanks, take that and drag that over here, put that on my screen. I'm going to go change those properties, and this one I'm going to point that to my Brew kettle 200, and that's, you can see it's starting to get some information. If I go to my tag list, I'm going to go to my Brew kettle 200, drag that over top of here, and there's that name of Brew kettle 200 on top of my graphic. So I'll make that try to make that about the same size. Let's do one more. So we're going to go here to my toolbox, drag this guy on here, change the property of that, and custom properties are exposed to be able to go pull information from different applications. Let's make this our fermenter level here. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of data in our fermenter. Let's see if we can go pick another one. Get rid of that one. Kind of X that out of here. Let's go pick another one. Let's go pick our MASH 100. That guy's got some data, and then we'll go here to my MASH 100, drag him on there, so it's going to give me my name there. So now I kind of have a tank farm here that's pulling processed data that's being pumped up, say from my AVEVA Historian or from my InTouch application, and pumping that data up here. So now I can go save this, check this in. Now I have that Brew kettle defined there, and you can see this data is not moving very quickly, but it does have live data, and there will be some animation associated with this. So I'm going to make sure this is saved. You know, what I also did, I gave it a keyword here of graphics, and what the keyword allows me to do is put them into a dashboard. So now I created this dashboard called Graphics Dashboard. It's going to pull up both of those pages that I just created. So there's my my tank farm, and my filter with some of that live data. So we're just kind of touching the surface of some of the things you can do with these dashboards and graphical capabilities. But anything you can build inside InTouch or the IDE, you can build your own graphics and drop them up here and link that to live process tags. Let's do one other thing before we wrap it up for the day. We talked about the smartphone app, but I have the ability to embed this information into my smartphone. So the smartphone app has the ability to go see that information on my phone. So I'm going to go share my phone application, and what I'm going to do is share that information, do screen mirroring here, connect my phone up to my smartphone app, and you'll be able to see that information on my desktop here. And I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to move over to my Insight application, and you can see there's all the content that was developed. So if I go to my roaster, let me pick here, roaster 22 dashboard, you can see information about the roaster, and I can kind of flip through that on my smartphone. So there's some information about that, some operations data, there's some process curves, some trends, so I can see that information on my dashboard. But let's also go look at my graphics dashboard that we just created. Okay, so we just created this a few minutes ago that didn't exist. So now it's pulling that information, and there's our tank farm, and I can see that information on my smartphone. So I can also see my filter that I just created. So that information will show up on my phone. So very cool that I can build these graphics inside my application within Insight, and then they automatically, that information will show up on my tank farm and see that information. So great use case for Insight and the graphical capabilities that we have within Insight. But that's all I really wanted to talk about today, folks. We really appreciate you joining us. If you have any questions, please contact me at the email address on the screen. Stay tuned for our next Experts on Tap session in a couple weeks. Thanks again for joining.